Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel everybody. I hope you're doing amazing. I'm happy to see you today for another video, and for this week's video we're gonna talk about the national French. So the thing is that you know that in French everything is gendered. We have the masculine, the feminine. So if you want to say your nationality, you have to be careful with the way you write it and the way you say it depending on your gender. So today we're going to talk about les nationalités, the nationalities. How do we say the country names, the masculine and the feminine nationalities? Introduction. Introduction. Comment dire d'où on vient et quelle est sa nationalité? Meaning, how do we say where we come from and what's our nationality? Exemple. Je suis Canadien. Meaning, I am Canadian. Canadian, written that way, finishing with IEN, it's masculine. If I want to say she is French, elle est française, française, written that way, it's feminine. So careful every time you have to adjust with your gender depending on who you're referring to. Je suis Canadien, I am Canadian, masculine. Elle est française, she is French, feminine. Objectif, the goal, dire sa nationalité, say the nationality, comprendre le masculin et le féminin, meaning to understand the masculine and the feminine, and poser des questions simples means to ask simple questions. Okay, first, let's start with the countries. In French, every time you want to refer to a country name, you always need to keep that in mind. We need to have the little pronoun in front of that name. Meaning, if I want to say France, meaning I love France, the country France, I need to use my pronoun in front of my country name. France, it's feminine. It's a feminine country. So that's why every time I want to refer to it, I'm going to keep my feminine pronoun, which is la. So if I want to say France, la France. If I want to say Spain, Spain is Espagne. If I want to put my pronoun in front of my word, which is Espagne, because Espagne starts with a vowel, I'm going to put an apostrophe. L'Espagne, Spain. Same for Germany. Germany is Allemagne. Allemagne starts with a vowel. I'm going to put L apostrophe to say Germany, l'Allemagne. Now look at Canada. Canada, we have le. Why do we have le? Because Canada, it's a masculine country. So careful. We always have the gender, so when you learn a new country, try to learn it with the pronoun straight away so you know the gender of that country. So if you want to say Canada, le Canada. Then, if you have the US, the United States, we say États-Unis. États-Unis, we consider it as a plural country, meaning we're going to have to be using the plural pronoun les. Les États-Unis. And here, careful when you read it, because we have the vowel from é, état, and the U from uni, we're going to be able to make a link to every word. So instead of saying les États-Unis, I'm going to pronounce my S for both. Les États-Unis. I'm going to link everything. Les États-Unis. The United States. Then we have le Brésil. Brazil. Le Brésil, it's masculine. So if I want to say Brazil, le Brésil. Italy, vowel. L'Italie. Mexico, le Mexique. Masculine. Japan, le Japon. Masculine. China, la. Chine, feminine. So keep that in mind. Those are just like a couple of different examples, but of course you have a lot of different countries. When you want to learn a country name in French, learn it with the pronoun so you know the gender of it, because it's going to change some stuff sometimes if you want to say where you're from. Let's read that together again. La France, l'Espagne, l'Allemagne, le Canada, les États-Unis, le Brésil, l'Italie, le Mexique, le Japon, la Chine. Those are the main countries. Of course, we have a lot of others. It's just some examples so you know when to use the masculine or the feminine and how to place it. Now, when we want to talk about the nationality, because everything is gendered, I'm going to have to be careful to my nationality depending on who I'm addressing that nationality to. Meaning, if I'm saying like I am plus my nationality, if I'm a boy or if I'm a man, it's not going to be the same writing as if I'm a woman or a girl. Example. The rule is pretty easy. You know that the rule of the feminine would be you take your masculine and you add your letter E. The E at the end of a word makes the word feminine. Example, if I want to say French, I'm going to say français. Français is French. When it's masculine, it's finishing with a S, always. So if you're going to say I am French and I'm a boy, I'm a man, I'm going to finish with my S. Every time you have a word that's finished with an S, you can add your feminine E to make it feminine. So from français, I'm going to say française. When it comes to the pronunciation, every time that it's finishing with an S, the S is mute. But if you put that feminine, the E is always mute in the feminine word. You just have to pronounce the letter before that mute E. I'm not going to pronounce my E, but I'm going to pronounce the S this time. So I'm going to go from français to française. Careful. From masculine to feminine. Français, française. Same rule for the D. It's going to be the same rule when it's whatever consonant, as long as it's not an N. You're going to see why. So if it's a S, you put your E. If it's a D, you put your E. Allemand, that means German, masculine. If I want to say German feminine, Allemande. And same as the S, I pronounce my D when there's a mute E after it. Allemand, Allemande. That means German masculine, German feminine. Now let's look at the other one. This one is Italien. Italien, Italian. Italien is finishing with en. Okay? Every time that you have the masculine nationality that finishes with en, you know that the letter of the feminine is e, but this time you're going to have to double your n. So you double your n, and then you put your feminine e. Italien, italienne. Same for Canadian. Canadien, canadienne. So every time you have IEN or EN when it's masculine, you have to double your N and put the E to make it feminine. Let's read that one more time. Français, française. Allemand, allemande. Italien, italienne. And I'm pronouncing my N now. Canadien, canadienne. This is the main rule. You have whatever consonant, you can put your E, and if it's finishing with the EN or IEN, you double your N and put your E. But careful, of course, it's French, we have some exceptions. When a masculine finishes with the letter C, you know that the E is supposed to be the feminine. If you do it, that's changing the sound of the word, so that doesn't go well. So what you have to do every time you have a nationality when it's masculine that's finishing with the C. For example, Greek, grec. Turkish, Turk. Those two, they finish with the C. Look at how do we do the feminine. You have to change that a little bit and you have to add the QU before your mute E of the feminine. Il est grec, he is Greek. Elle est grecque with CQUE, feminine, she is Greek. Il est turc, he is Turkish. Elle est turque, she is Turkish. But every time you have the C for the masculine, add that QU and your E for the feminine. And then the last rule is, you know that the letter of the feminine is the E, right? You're supposed to add your E to make it feminine. But sometimes we have the nationality when it's masculine, you already have the E. Example, if I want to say, he is Russian. He is Russian, il est russe. Russe, masculine, already has the E. I have it when it's masculine. What I'm going to do, because the E is supposed to be my letter of the feminine, but I already have it when it's masculine, I'm not going to add a double one. As long as I have it when it's feminine, we're good. So you're just going to keep it the same way. Il est russe, elle est russe. I have my E when it's masculine because it's finishing that way. As long as I have it when it's feminine, it's all good. Let's read that one more time. Français, française. Allemand, allemande. Italien, italienne. Canadien, canadienne. Grec, grec. Same pronunciation. Turc, turc. Same pronunciation. Russe, russe. Same pronunciation and same spelling. Okay, Now, if you want to ask some questions, for example, where are you from? Where are you coming from? What's your nationality? You have different ways. First one, tu es d'où? Where are you from? Tu viens d'où? Where are you coming from? Quelle est ta nationalité? What's your nationality? Tu es de quelle origine? That's literally you are from what origin? Those are all different types of questions we can ask when we want to learn more about the nationality or when where the people comes from. And then you have different types of answer. Je viens d'Espagne. I come from Spain. If I come from Spain, that means I may be Spanish. I am Spanish. Je suis espagnol. Espagnol, written with the E, it's feminine. Or another example, I come from Canada. Je viens du Canada. And then, depending of your gender, je suis canadien, finishing with IEN, it's masculine. Je suis canadienne, I double my N, but my E, it's feminine. Okay, now, little recap of everything. We have the list of the countries and then the nationality with the masculine, il est, he is, and the feminine, elle est, she is. If I talk about France, I'm going to say il est français, elle est française. Espagne, Spain, il est espagnol, elle est espagnole. Same pronunciation because I'm always going to pronounce my L when it's finishing with the L, but I'm not going to pronounce my E when it's feminine. So I'm going to say espagnol for both. It's just that I can add my E when it's feminine. Allemagne, Germany. Il est allemand, he is German. Elle est allemande, she is German. Italie, italien, masculine, italienne. I double my N and put my E for the feminine. Brésil, brésilien, brésilienne. Same rule, finishing with EN, I double my N and put my E. Canada, canadien, canadienne. Double the NE. Japon, careful. Japon, japonais, Japanese. Japonais, finishing with the S, I put my E. Japonaise. But this time I'm pronouncing my S. Japonais, I don't. Japonaise, I do. Chine, China. If I want to say he is Chinese, il est chinois. Chinois, finishing with the S. She is Chinese, elle est chinoise. Finishing with the E, I pronounce my S. Russie, example, Russia. He is Russian. Il est russe. Look at the spelling. Russe, masculine, finishing with the E. I'm going to keep it the same way when it's feminine because I already have my E. Don't need to add another one. Il est russe, he is Russian. Elle est russe, she is Russian. And the last one, Mexico. He is Mexican. Il est mexicain. Finishing with the N, but careful. I said we have to double the N when it's IEN or EN. Here is just AIN. I don't need to double it. So I'm going to go from Mexicain to Mexicaine. What matters the most is just to be able to add your E and pronounce the last letter before that mute E. Français, française. Espagnol, espagnol. Allemand, allemande. Italien, italienne. Brésilien, brésilienne. Canadien, canadienne. Japonais, japonaise. Chinois, chinoise. Russe, russe. Mexicain, mexicaine. That now you know enough and you know everything to be able to answer that question. So now I'm telling you in those phases where do those people come from. Exemple, ici, Marie vient de France, meaning Mary comes from France. Mary, what you have to do, you have to tell me her nationality. You know the gender of the person because I wrote elle est. Elle est, she is. It's feminine. So how do we call someone who's feminine and who's from France? What's the nationality? So careful with the spelling, careful with the writing. If you're not sure, feel free to go back on the previous slide. You see everything. Try to memorize it. And if you have any question while you're doing it, please don't hesitate to reach to us. You can ask some questions in the comment section. You can text us on our social medias at French Language Solution. we're always going to be here to help you if you have any demand. And I hope that this video was helpful for you to understand a little more on the masculine, feminine, the nationalities, and the countries in French. And I hope that this video was helpful. And I just cannot wait to see you next week for another video. Salut!